The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. There are lots of pages in the beginning of this book. Here we are. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits. Their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sand bank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. Now, my dears, said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there, and he was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Oh, no. Now run along and don't get into mischief. I am going out. So, as you look at this book, do you think this is a fiction book or a non-fiction book? If you said fiction, you are correct. Because do rabbits wear clothes? No. They probably talk to each other, but in rabbit talk. And we're ready to go? Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. Do you notice they took their clothes off so that they didn't stain them with the blackberries? Blackberries are delicious, but if they get on your clothes, they'll make a purple stain. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. Naughty Peter. First he ate some lettuces and some French beans. Then he ate some radishes. Does he look like he's enjoying himself? And who's his friend there? You're right, that looks like a bird. And then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. Why do you think he feels sick? If you said he ate too much, you're probably right. But round the end of a cucumber frame, whom should he meet but Mr. McGregor? Uh-oh. What do you think he's going to do? Peter was dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages, and the other shoe amongst the potatoes. Oh no, do you think he's going to get away? Let's turn the page and find out. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster, so that I think he might have gotten away altogether if he had not unfortunately ran into the gooseberry net and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. What do you think he's going to do now? How's he going to get away? Peter gave himself up for lost and shed big tears, but his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows, who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. There's some big words there. Do you know what exert means? And implored? Implored is like encouraged him to exert, which is try harder. So they encouraged him to try harder to get away because he was starting to give up. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop on the top of Peter, but Peter wiggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him. Ah, do you think the birds are happy? I think so. And rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not had so much water in it. Good place to hide, but kind of soggy, huh? Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath the flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently, Peter sneezed. Curly-shoo! Mr. McGregor was after him in no time. Oh, no. Do you think he's going to get away? Let's find out. And tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. Well, that's a good thing for Peter, but how's he going to get away? Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath, trembling with fright, and had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp with sitting in that can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked. There was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorway, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. So sad. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still. But now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. That's probably a smart idea to stay away from the cat. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Scritch, scratch, scratch, scritch. Peter scuttered underneath the bushes, but presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate. Ah, yay, now he knows where the gate is. Let's see if he can get to the gate. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go along a straight walk behind some currant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Ooh, he got out. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Ooh. So he kind of made a scarecrow to scare away birds. And now let's see where Peter went. What happened when he got home? Peter never stopped running or looked behind him until he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. Ooh, how long is a fortnight? I might have to Google that. I almost think a fortnight is 40 days, but I could be wrong. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made him some chamomile tea. She gave a dose of it to Peter, 1 tablespoon, to be taken at bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. The end. At least Peter got away from Mr. McGregor.